Hello, this is Bailey Leasure, and it's the Leasure Sports Podcast. To kick off the news this week, talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks, what they've done since my last podcast. Disappointing road trip that they had, going 2-4. The bats in both the Nationals and Rockies series were not bad in the home openers, and they were able to win the series openers. But the bats went silent for the rest of those series, and they went 2-4. Not been really great on the road. They've been 6-10, so they really need to pick up the pace once they go back on the road on their next road trip. So we'll see what happens there. Diamondbacks dropped the first game of their 9-game road trip against Detroit, but were able to get the second game off. A couple big hits in that game by A.J. Pollock, Drury, and Yasmani Tomas. So that was pretty big for them. Diamondbacks then the next game, starting the 4-game series that they're currently in against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Zach Greinke pitched possibly the best game he's pitched in a Diamondback uniform. Looked very good. Took a no-hitter into the 8th inning before Gregory Polanco broke it up. But overall, pretty good. So good for him. Diamondbacks were able to win that game 2-1. Diamondbacks last night faced Pittsburgh again. Patrick Corbin gave up 4 runs, but he got the run support that he hasn't really gotten this year. And the Diamondbacks were able to win that game 11-4. Brandon Drury was a triple short of the cycle. Got a big 3-run home run in that 3rd inning. I think the Diamondbacks got 7 runs in that 3rd inning. Unfortunately, a thing that's been currently haunting the Diamondbacks, or more so, it's just, I don't know why it's happening. Pittsburgh, the last couple years the Diamondbacks have faced Pittsburgh, going back to 2014, I think it was a game, Paul Goldschmidt was hit in the hand, broke his hand, was out for the rest of the year. The Diamondbacks retaliated. I think the next night they threw at Andrew McCutchen. I think it was Randall Delgado. He threw at Andrew McCutchen, hit him in the back. They were out for, he was thrown out of the game. I think during that time, that was a year after the Diamondbacks Dodger brawl that had happened, so a lot of people saw the Diamondbacks as a dirty team. Well, Pittsburgh, in my opinion, they've carried the dirty thing. Now, I'm not sure if they're doing this intentionally. I doubt they are, but it looks intentional. So, because last year, Diamondbacks were in the same game. One of the Pittsburgh pitchers threw at Gene Segura's head and threw at Nick Ahmed. I think it hit him in the shoulder. One of the pitchers was thrown out. I'm not sure if it was the same pitcher that threw at Segura, but after Ahmed. So the Pittsburgh, they're getting, I don't know what's up with Pittsburgh. Why they have this, this beef with the Diamondbacks, or what's going on with them. It's going to be an interesting game coming up tonight. Taijuan Walker's going to be on the hill. Do the Diamondbacks finally, did they respond to this? Did they finally respond? Now, I don't condone violence in baseball, fighting or throwing out intentionally, but Diamondbacks, fortunately last night, after Chris Iannetta got hit last night, took a pitch up around here, hit him in the nose and the upper lid. He suffered a busted, looking at the report, he suffered a fractured teeth, nose, and got stitches on the lip. Taken to the hospital, taken out of the game. He was having a really good game. He had a big home run in that 3rd inning to get the scoring started for the Diamondbacks in that big 7-run 3rd inning. So, it's just unfortunate that happened. So I don't know what's the deal with Pittsburgh. It's gonna be an interesting game tonight to see the Diamondbacks. They respond. They try to retaliate after that. Hopefully not. But at least the Diamondbacks last night, at least they were on the right side of the score on the scoreboard for once. So good for them. So Diamondbacks will continue tonight. They will wrap up the 4-game tomorrow, and they'll continue the 3-game. We'll be facing 3 games against the Mets. That's going to go great into my next news. Matt Harvey returned last night. Did not have a great performance after his suspension. He allowed 3 homers. He went 5 innings, struck out 6, but gave up 5 earned runs, and they fell to the Brewers 7-4 after the whole Matt Harvey getting suspended incident. The Mets, they're in 2nd place right now, but they're not looking good, and a lot of people thought this was going to, including myself, this was going to be the up and coming team for next or this season. They're getting all their pitchers back healthy. You got DeGrom, you had Harvey, you had Syndergaard, you had all these big pieces, and yet it hasn't come together. Nationals, I think they're the best team in the National League right now. So, we'll see what happens there. Maybe the Mets will get out of it, but I don't know. So, just, it's kind of hard for teams to be in a rut and then to come, have a bad start in the season and catch up to it. Rarely teams are able to do it. It's happened before, but it's, we'll see. The Mets, I think, are capable of doing it, but you never know. They're just not looking good right now. All right, update on the standings for the rest of the league. Baltimore is leading the division 22-12, their record. Yankees are a half game back of that. Yankees really doing a very good job. Pretty surprising, and they're being led by that rookie Aaron Judge, who I think is going to be Rookie of the Year in the American League. So, good for him. Yankees going to have a big game last night. They're in the middle of the Houston series, and they're going to be retiring Derek Jeter's number. So hats off to him. Derek Jeter, one of the greatest shortstops, and probably one of the great ambassadors of baseball. I think he's the Peyton Manning of baseball because he's a great ambassador to the game and representing the game for the rest of the world. So good for him. Minnesota has been one of the surprise teams. They're currently leading their division over the Indians of 2 games. Detroit 2.5 games back as well. Houston, not necessarily one of the surprise teams, kind of, but it's surprising me that they're the best team in the American League. They're capable of doing this, led by Dallas Keuchel. They're a big pitcher, but up 25-11, the best team in Major League Baseball right now. So very impressive. Like I said before, the Nationals up 22-12 in their division. They're the top team in the National League. The Mets are 6 games back of that. Disappointing, I know. It's kind of been an interesting thing in the National League Central. Cardinals are leading that division. The Brewers are surprising people right now. I know there's going to be a lot of these surprise teams might fizzle out, but Milwaukee's a game and a half back. Cincinnati's also a game and a half back, and the Cubs are currently 500 or 2.5 games back of the St. Louis Cardinals. And then the NL West has been pretty surprising. The Colorado Rockies are leading that division. Dodgers are 1.5 games back, and the Diamondbacks are 2 games back. Giants, who, like I've said before, have been very disappointing, are 14-24, 9.5 games back in the NL West. So, Colorado, I think, it surprised me because, usually they start off the season. I know last year, for the first couple of weeks, they've been pretty good, and this is around the time they started to fizzle out and fall, But, hey, give them some credit, So, I give credit to that the West is starting to look, the NL West is starting to looking like the best division in baseball potentially. 3-team race right now. So I think it's capable of being a 3-team race for the rest of the year. So that's it for Diamondback and Major League Baseball news. I'm going to move on to the second round of the NBA playoffs. It's still continuing right now, but there's only one game left. That will be the Wizards at Boston, or the Washington Wizards at Boston Celtics. That decisive Game 7. The winner of that will play the Cleveland Cavaliers. Boston, who's the number 1 seed, if they win that game, they'll face the Cleveland Cavaliers in Boston, and they'll have the home court advantage. If not, the Wizards win, and they won off a big 3-point shot with less than 10 seconds remaining from John Wall. So, I think it's going to be a good Game 7 coming up. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, the Warriors swept the Jazz. Not surprising. Not surprising that the Cavs and the Warriors are 8-0 right now. It's just been a breeze for them. And they're probably going to be the 2 teams that are going to probably make it to the finals, in my opinion. But that's pretty. A lot of people think that as well. So the Spurs will be facing the Warriors. They were able to take care of the Rockets in 6 games. They were able to do it without Kyrie Leonard. They said he'll be ready for the Western Conference Finals in the first game. So we'll see what happens there. So as far as the Wizards and the Celtics, you know what? I kind of like the Wizards. I think they'll beat the Celtics. So we'll see what happens there. But I like the Wizards chancing. I think they have the momentum, especially after winning Game 6. So if John Wall has a really big game, I think he'll the Wizards will take it and face the Cavs. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to the NHL playoffs. Right now, the Western Conference just started last night. The Nashville Predators were able to win that game 3-2 in overtime against the Anaheim Ducks in Anaheim off the big goal by James Neal. Meanwhile, the Senators and Pittsburgh Penguins series, I think it's starting right now as I'm recording this podcast. So after Pittsburgh was able to get a very great performance at the end of the second round in Washington, Marc-Andre Fleury filling in for Matt Murray. He's been injured since the first round of this playoffs, and he's looking like the Marc-Andre Fleury that led the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Stanley Cup final in 2008, 2009. So he's looking really good. Very surprising he shut him out. It was learned that Ovechkin had leg, knee, hamstring, just a lot of lower body injuries going into that series. But Capitals, I mean, they're one of these teams. They have one of the best regular season records, but they can't get past the second round. They just, and this is an interesting thing, and this is the topic. A big topic: should Ovechkin be traded? And I think he should be traded. It's not. This is Ovechkin's a great player, but they're not. Capitals just can't. They can't get over the second round. Struggle. They need it. And maybe he stays for one more year, but I think I would have traded him a couple years ago when he was a lot younger, and you would have gotten a great package for him. So we'll see what happens there, but I don't know. As far as that series, I think I like Nashville. They've been really surprising. I think they kind of remind me of the Sharks, what they did last season. So we'll see what happens there. As far as Penguins and Senators, I think that will be a pretty good series, but I'm probably going to take Pittsburgh in 5, and they'll be representing the Stanley Cup playoffs, so the Eastern Conference and the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll see what happens there. Some news about the Arizona Cardinals this past week or so. Blaine Gabbert was been rumored for a little bit. He signed a minimum $900,000 deal to be competing for one of the backup quarterback spots. You know what? A lot of people dogged on that, and a lot of people brought up, why not Kaepernick? Why don't you sign Kaepernick? Maybe not the Cardinals, but why does Blaine Gabbert have a job and Colin Kaepernick doesn't? That's a whole nother discussion. But Cardinals are not signing him to be the starter. Even Blaine Gabbert, I think, said, "I'm not intending to, I'm competing to get on the roster. I know I'm not going to be the starting quarterback." You know what? It's a low risk deal. I don't think it's a bad deal. Blaine Gabbert, he's going to I think he'll go into a system where he finally has pieces to be decently successful. Now, I don't think he's going to be the next quarterback, but let's say Palmer goes down with an injury, and it's happened in the last couple of years. He's got some good receivers, and Larry Fitzgerald and John Brown and J.J. Nelson. He's got those pieces. Then you have one of the best running backs in the NFL. I think the best all-around running back in the NFL, and David Johnson. So if Cardinals are able to fix some offensive line, let's say he has to come in for relief, I think it might be successful. So we'll see what happens there. I think it's capable of being. Cardinals are capable of doing this. So we'll see what happens there. Other big news: the Cardinals finally made a decision on Darryl Washington, and he was released. You know what? I kind of wanted to see if they were going to give him a chance, but at the same time, you've been waiting 3 years, and 3 years in the NFL is an eternity. You know what? I don't fault the Cardinals for this, but I hope Darryl Washington. I heard the big issue was the money thing. He didn't want to take the pay cut. So, and I think also the Cardinals have just waited so long for him. I think they're tired of waiting for him. So, so we'll see what happens there. I wish Darryl Washington all the best. I really hope he succeeds on a different team, and I think he's capable of doing it. I hope he takes this getting reinstated finally, and he finally, he makes it on with another team. I think he's capable of doing it. So we'll see what happens there. Other news: Michael Floyd signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Kind of surprised at that, but good deal for him. Other news: Palmer made some comments. He's very excited for Andre Ellington to be a receiver, and I'm kind of excited as well. I think he'll succeed as a wide receiver. As a running back, he's kind of small and elusive. It's not like he's not the kind of running back to, you need 1 yard, get the first down. That's David Johnson's role. So he's more of, throw the screen or dump off, kind of receiver play. I think he can be great as a receiver, and I think it could really revive Ellington's career that you saw, and especially during that rookie year. So we'll see what happens there. Josh Gordon, other NFL news, Josh Gordon was denied reinstatement, and he will be he does have an opportunity to reinstate in the fall. Gordon, I give him a lot of credit for going into that treatment center after he got suspended again. And I hope he gets it together like Washington could probably get it together. Because just see what happens there. And I wish the best of luck to Josh Gordon as well. So that's it for Sports Podcast. Thanks everybody for watching. A couple announcements before I end the podcast. I talked about my Guardians of the I did a Guardians of the Galaxy non-spoiler review. I did another movie review. I am going to, if you haven't seen it, you could it's on my channel. Just go on my channel. You can click on it. It's not that long because it's a non-spoiler. I am going to do a spoiler review. I haven't wrote my notes down for it. So once I get their notes written down, it will probably come out this upcoming week. I know the movie's been out for a week or so, but I am going to have a spoiler review like I did for Logan a couple months back. So, I am going to do that. On my very first podcast, it was my first sports podcast, I just had done a podcast on a channel called GNR Central, where I talk about the rock band Guns N' Roses and what's going on with that band. See the Guns N' Roses posters in the back, and you can tell I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan. But so I'm gonna be on his podcast again, GNR Central's podcast. That will probably be going. It's gonna be a live stream. Probably be going on around 2:00. So click on that. Just search GNR Central, and we'll be on the podcast talking about Guns N' Roses, what's going on, what's going to happen with their upcoming tour, and discussing about them. So I'm very excited to be on that podcast again. The guy, Sid, he has a great channel, and he's got over 9,000 subscribers. So it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully have a lot of fun. Also, one more thing. I may potentially not do sport like news updates, but I'm thinking about doing video blogs where I talk about a bit like a topic that's going on or a debate that's going on and give my thoughts over it, like a video blog about that. And so if you guys want, leave a comment on what you want me to talk about, like a video blog, like say, should there be more fights in baseball, or is LeBron James, is he on Michael Jordan's level, stuff like that. So feel free to comment and give me some ideas. I would love the feedback. So thanks everybody for watching. Follow me on Twitter at BaileyLeasure96. If you like the content on my channel, please subscribe. If you like the video, click like, and comment if you disagree or agree with some of my views, and what are your thoughts on the sports news regarding the sports world, and especially the Arizona sports world. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.